Welcome to Anatomy and Physiology 1. My name is Lawrence Roberge. I'm Dr. Roberge, and we're going to get you a few pointers here to get oriented and set up for your course. Uh, Now, of course, you're going to have this course that sets you up, and we talk about these terms, anatomy and physiology. What is that? Anatomy is the structure of anything. When we talk about the structure of living organisms, we could be talking at the gross or large scale, such as an organ, a kidney, a heart, the brain, or at a microscopic stage, the nephron or a slice of muscle tissue, etc. When we talk about physiology, we talk about the function of these structures. So we come to understand that structure relates to function, function relates to structure. Pretty straightforward. Well, let's get into some of the pointers to help you. First off, in this COVID-19 era, we're going to have lab classes that depend on an A-B arrangement. That means that students will be assigned, basically half the class will go in 1 week, the other half will take care of the lab activities online, and then the next week it'll switch. To find out which group you're in, go to the announcements in the Blackboard. These are the lab hours, whether you're O1 group, O2 group, O3, O4, or E3. Now, if you're not sure what group you're in, print out your syllabus, and you'll see at the top of it, Bio 161 in the header, and it will say what group you're in. All of these labs are in the Ghosh building, otherwise known as Science and Technology Building, ST317. The main thing you have to understand is the maximum capacity in the labs has now been reduced by 1/2. To maintain social distancing and to reduce the spread of COVID, we're basically going from a lab room that would deal with 20 students to now one that deals with a maximum of 10. And that means basically that half of the students will go into have a regular lab, wear a mask. The other half of the class is going to have a virtual lab. Then it will switch. So the next week, the second group will have the lab activity and the first group will do the virtual labs. And I'll show you how this is set up in part by an abundance of videos and recorded lectures, and how you're going to also use your your lab textbook or lab exercise book, I refer to it as. Okay, so O1, O2, what does that mean for me? Instead of lectures, we're going to have virtual meetings. We're going to use Zoom, and that means that you can only use laptops or desktops that will be effective. Attendance at these virtual meetings is mandatory. You can't blow them off. Absences will be recorded, and as you read in the syllabus, if you have over 5 absences, you will be basically you'll fail the course. Here are the hours. So what happens is that O1 and O3 would have been, if they were back in a regular classroom, they'd be all together. I'd have a class of about 40, 2 groups of 20, no problem. So we'll meet Tuesday, 8:30 a.m. to 9:45. I will send you ahead of time directions on how to hook up with the Zoom link, so I will be able to see everybody. You have to have a functioning webcam, and you have to be present. I will not take absentia or somebody also watching cartoons in the morning. Sorry, it doesn't work. You need to listen to this because usually in my virtual meetings, I'll include discussion of contents. I'll answer any questions you might have for the material for the week. Give you tips, pointers, and reminders, okay? And as for you happy campers in the evening hours, E3 will go Tuesday, probably about an hour, 6 to 7, but this could extend itself a little bit longer, depending if we have questions. Now, if you have a personal issue, please you don't have to speak about it in a virtual meeting. That's basically a public forum. Email me, and we can perhaps arrange a quiet virtual meeting over Blackboard Ultra and a sort of a face-to-face then. Okay, let's continue onward. Next, Instructions, lots of instructions, so you are successful in the online environment. Instructions are located in the syllabus section of the Blackboard for logging into Mastering A&P. This is where I've said to students, buy the textbook package from the WSU bookstore. Don't buy it by a third party. Don't go to Amazon, all that other stuff, because once they got your money, they can take as long or as slow as they want. And trust me, they have been slow at cases, e-college or bookstore or whatever. All of these guys sometimes have slow ups, and what it results in is students are upset. I know that there's been listed as a not having the supplies. I've spoken with the textbook manager, and they are getting the supplies, so don't worry. But you need to get the right tools for the right job. So you will also have an instruction sheet along with the Mastering A&P Access card code. Don't lose the card code, because I don't know it, and I can't replace it for you. That card code is part of the textbook package. You'll end up with a textbook, a lab exercise book, the access card code. You may end up with also a small anatomy atlas. But what you're going to do is go into the area marked syllabus, download the syllabus, then download the instructions on how to register for Mastering A&P. Another thing, if you have any problems connecting, do not send me an email or anything. What you need to do is talk to the people who can most effectively and successfully help you make the connection. That's the Pearson Tech Help Desk. The information on how to get a hold of them is in the announcements in the Blackboard. You have workbook, homework, and weekly quizzes located in the Mastering A&P. Lectures, readings, and assignments are due the first week. Labs will start the second week, which is the week of September 7th. General rules and tips. First off, as I said before, download and print the syllabus first. The syllabus exam requires a 100% score. This will then allow you access to week 1 coursework. So in other words, you will not get full access to the module until you have done the syllabus exam and scored 100%. You can take the syllabus test as many times as necessary to get the 100% score. I would encourage you to basically start as soon as I open the gate on the course and keep going at it until you get 100%. Okay? You want to review work in each week's modules. Look at what you're going to face for the next week. Plan ahead for success. Oh yes, and one more thing. In labs, and this came down straight from the provost herself, you wear your mask. The dean, you wear your mask. The department chair, you wear your mask. You wear the mask or you go home. I'm not going to have you leave. Come back later. You have to have the mask in there. That is for your protection and the protection of everyone else in that room. Also, when you're in the labs, you will note that you won't be able to do group work. You'll have to do it individually. You'll be in a little plexiglass cubicle. That's for social distancing and also to basically enhance or reduce the risk of transmission of COVID. Okay? You want to get the syllabus test completed and the readings done before September 3rd. Let me tell you, the words never procrastinate mean much, much more in an online environment. And I've been teaching well over 20 years online. If you put things off, it will be a disaster. Procrastination is your enemy to success in an online environment. Don't do it. Plan ahead. Don't wait to the last minute with any assignment. If you come in short and late, you get a 0. Okay? Make sure that you know what group you're in, O1, O2, etc. That's going to be on top of your syllabus. Make sure you know what lab group you're in, A or B. That's where you're going to see that in the announcements. And no, unfortunately, and this has come down from the department chair, you cannot switch groups. You cannot go with your friends if they're in another group. Okay? I can't allow it. Because we have such tight numbers, I cannot have more than 10 students in that lab. And so this is unfortunately what we have to deal with right now under COVID. more tips and rules and everything else. Okay, expect 2 to 3 emails per week from me. Read them. I have people that I will send out an email, 2 days later ask me a question by an email. I will say go back to my most recent email memo. You can expect 1 email a week saying I've graded all your work. Take time to look over the scores. Take time to look over the feedback comments. Don't come back to me on week 14 and say, why did I get such and such grade on week 2? That's telling me you've not been looking over your scores. You need to make sure that you're doing well, and if you need to improve your studying habits, okay? You can expect 1 email that I will provide you with the link for the Zoom virtual meeting. You might get an email from me during the week that I want to either encourage you, congratulate you, or tell you that you need to up your game, okay? And there are resources on campus that will help you to improve your capabilities of dealing with test anxiety and basically study skills. Take advantage of them. I usually respond to my emails within 24 hours. But to avoid technology problems, I'm telling you straightforward what you do need to do. Make sure you have either a laptop or a desktop, not an iPad, not an iPhone, not a Chromebook, not Microsoft Surface. We have found each and every one of them has flaws, so they will not work well with Respondus, with Blackboard, or with Mastering A&P. Now, if you do any of these assignments and you are using any of these other items and you don't get the score, I can't help you. What I can do is help you with this information. I'm aware that students have to face some incredible costs with going and getting your education. No sweat. Worcester State University had some very nice people contribute to a fund that allowed them to secure a number of laptops to loan to students who are in need, as well as portable hotspots. These are basically Wi-Fi or internet connections that you can use, especially if, let's say, you've got a really wiggly or bad or interrupting, uncertain Wi-Fi connection. Don't let your pride get in the way. We want to help you to have the tools so that you can succeed. If you need a laptop to support your academic success, we're going to help you. Contact the address below. I've also posted it in the announcements in Blackboard as well as in your syllabus. But if you try to communicate on Zoom with an iPhone and it crashes, you'll be marked absent. If you try to use a Chromebook or Microsoft Surface and you can't get access to the exam, you get the 0. Laptops or desktops are going to be the key way to work through these courses. And I want to see everybody excel. So here are some of the tips. Plan out your work week. For every hour of lecture, expect 2 hours of work. In other words, afterwards. This is studies that were done with the Carnegie Institute and how they've set this up. Therefore, you can expect for 3 hours of lecture, 6 hours of work each week. For every hour of lab, expect 2 hours of work as well. Therefore, you're looking at, well, 3-hour lab, 3-hour lecture, 12 hours at least. Now, this time includes, of course, reading the chapter, viewing the lab and lecture videos, viewing the lab and lecture animations, as I said, reading the chapter, or reviewing the lab exercises, which is very important to do that before you enter into the lab. Viewing the lab models, slides, PowerPoints, completing the lab worksheets, mastering A&P homework and quizzes, as well as labs and practical exams. You have to keep in mind that labs reinforce your lecture concepts. Now, lab worksheets, these are important deadlines that you have to keep in mind with all of this. Lab worksheets are due 5 p.m. Friday on the assigned week, not later. It's a 0. Mastering A&P lecture homework, that's due by 11:59 p.m. on Friday of the assigned week. Mastering A&P lecture quiz, that's due 11:59 on Saturday of the assigned week. The Zoom virtual meetings I've mentioned before, You will expect them at the beginning of the week or thereabouts. Lecture exams are going to be during your lecture hours. You want to take a look at the syllabus there. And lab practical exams are going to be during the lab hours. Okay? Now, it is the responsibility of all students to manage their time and their schedule. You can't come back to me afterwards and say, I forgot. Okay? I want everybody to be a successful nurse, a successful scholar, a successful student. But you've got to manage this despite the fact that you work outside or your family obligations or your other course obligations. So it's helpful if you look at the module before the module week starts and plan out, oh, okay, I'm going to do the reading then, I'm going to do this, this, and this. You've got to chart it out and map it out now. Let's talk about what you can see here is the header or the opening page to the Biology 161. Now, down here, you're going to see announcements, and this is where you're going to see also the group A, B groups, also the information about COVID-19, mask requirements, etc. Now, some of these announcements will change. You will not see some of them until around the time they're due. Who cares about Labor Day when it's March or December? But you will get announcements when Thanksgiving week is coming just beforehand. Okay, so the key point I'm trying to say to you is announcements will change. Read them. Be on top of it beforehand. Okay, that's one. Two, let's look at syllabus for a second. In the syllabus site, you're going to see two things that are important. One, the syllabus, print it out immediately. Two, this information on how to register for the Mastering A&P site. There it is, print that out, and then follow the directions. And if it asks for information about the tools, here's the tools menu. Scroll down, that's where it's going to say Pearson MyLab Mastering. That's where you're going to help get assistance on how to register. Content. Now you see here, this is going to pop up very shortly. This is the syllabus test that you have to take. You have to get 100%. All right? 20 questions, you got 30 minutes. But once you get this done, you will then get access to week one's information. I might also emphasize one other thing. That means that you're going to have to take time to seriously, closely read the syllabus. If you want 100%, you're going to have to do that. And if you do that, you're going to be held responsible for all of the content of it. Let's take a look at week one. Week one starts really just as we start getting into the week. You're going to see there's first off at the top a module that'll tell you what are some of the things that are occurring this week. The lecture readings, what you're supposed to do. This is the textbook. You will also have Mastering A&P assignment and online work, homework assignment. Those are going to be done by the respective times. I give you a recorded chapter lecture. I give you also the PowerPoint files for this lecture. Sometimes I include graphic organizers to help you to understand certain concepts and see how they are both involved. You can print this out. The lecture review videos for chapter 1. These are videos chosen because they will help reinforce the concepts that we're talking about when it comes to the various themes and topics covered in that particular chapter, chapter 1. One more thing. If you look down at the bottom here, you're going to see this constantly. End of chapter 1 review tools. Now, first thing you need to understand, you will not earn any grade points for these assignments. You cannot use them for extra credit. There is no extra credit for this course. I don't round up the grades. I don't accept late work, and I don't accept extra credit. All right? What are these useful for? Well, if you want to get an idea of whether you really know this stuff or not, download these sheets, fill in the various parts of this information here. Connective tissue, which would be over here, epithelial tissue, which would be over here. Fill these out. Now, since you did them, how do you really know if you know this stuff? No problem. This is page 1 where you're supposed to do the activity. Page 2 is your answers. Okay? And yes, I encourage you to use these as review assessments, sort of like a self-diagnostic to whether or not you know your material for that week. Let's go to week 2 real quickly. And week 2 is the first week you're going to have labs. Now, if you look again at the module, it says, what's the basic theme here? The chemical level of organization. This is the lecture readings, the quiz for that week, the homework assignment, and then we start getting into lab readings. So it tells you Sarekis, which is the author for the lab book, the lab exercise book. You want to read over exercises 1 and 4, and we're going to have also a brief presentation or coverage of lab safety. So if we go down here to beyond the content for lecture, we're going to get into a small lecture for lab 1. Also, you're going to have your lab 1 worksheets. These are the assignment sheets. You will download these, as you can see here. Make sure in every case you put your name on it. Each one of these blue, light blue areas, they are indicating that you can type in the information. Okay? Then what you're to do is save this. Complete all of it, because I'm only going to be able to give you 100% if you have completed all the work. Okay? Instead of ripping the sheets out of the Sarekis book, use these sheets. Fill them out, complete them, then save them as a completed assignment. Then what you do is you go back here to lab assignments, click on this. You've saved the filled out lab assignment on your computer. Scroll down and browse your computer till you find it, select it, and then load it up. Okay? Then, now, because you're going to have 2 sheets, you've got to load up both of these. Okay? The body organization 1 and exercise 4, which is the membrane transport. You got to have both sheets. If you don't do both sheets, I can't give you 100%. Okay? And then what you do is you click on this submit and it's uploaded. This is due by 5 p.m. on the Friday for that week. By the way, one other thing. I said you had a lecture for a lab. You also have the PowerPoint files, the PowerPoint sheets for lab, as well as some relevant lab videos. I encourage you, before you, whether you're going to go into lab or whether you're going to take and do lab in an online setting, you need to review all of these, and they're all going to be related to topics or concepts that you have for that week's lab. Everybody clear on that? Great. Now, 1 or 2 more things. You might be saying to yourself, okay, that's nice. And where do I find my grades? There will be a grade book area here. And you will be able to look at your grades and your progress. I will just take an example of this. Because of privacy concerns, I can't click it and show everybody else's names. But let me explain to you. You will always have each week, for the most of the weeks, a homework for Mastering A&P, a quiz for Mastering A&P, and a worksheet or a lab assignment sheet for your lab activity. Now, one other little point. The homework assignments are based on mastery. You're going to have them and you will do them, and this is all written down in the syllabus as well. But you have to get a minimum of 80%. Then I give you the 100%. I give you a full grade. If you do not do 80%, you get 0. So the only way that you can successfully complete the homework assignment, and you can take it as many times as you need, is to take the homework assignment. If you get a score of 80 or better, you're fine, because I will just translate that into 100. If you get less than 80, you get a 0. I will reconvert those and reconfigure those as I'm going over the grades, okay? So that's important that you keep this in mind. Also, you will see on some weeks, and this will show up, you notice that this says Anatomy Physiology 1, Lecture Exam 1. Well, this is on the instructor side. Okay, you wouldn't see this on the student side yet. But what will happen on the day of the 6th, and you can check this with your syllabus, is that I will have this site open up. You will have 50 questions. You will have 75 minutes to get it done. It starts at 8:30. It closes at 9:45. If you get it done early, no problem. But it will automatically close. So if you come in late, you only have till 9:45. So I encourage you to come in at the time to maximize the amount of time you have to successfully do these exams. Okay? Don't get distracted. You have to have the respondus browser lock in place beforehand, and don't try to cheat. A, I know when people are cheating. B, if you get caught, I have no problem handing you over, giving you a 0, and also reporting you to the head of the department that you're going for your degree. That's right, I would report you to the nursing head. I don't like cheaters. The question is, do you understand that in cheating, the person becomes less competent with eventually their career goal? If someone didn't know how to get a needle into an arm to draw blood, would you feel comfortable with that person? And I give this as an analogy in my lectures, or put it the other way. If you didn't know exactly how to put that needle into the arm to draw the blood, do you think your patient would be comfortable with you? Okay. Now that you've got those two answered, one more question. Can you live with yourself because somebody died because you didn't know your stuff? In essence, this is not something that is ethereal. This is critical to know your stuff so that you can become competent and successful in your eventual career goal. And I want to help you get there. Okay, so you can see in this week, we've got lab assignments, we've got lecture assignments, etc. So please take the opportunity in every way and every means to use the resources that we have put before you. Okay? Now, that's about almost it. I want to welcome you again to Anatomy and Physiology 1. The contact information to get a hold of me is located in the syllabus, but I'm going to be very honest with you. Because of COVID-19, I probably am not going to be in my office barely at all. Rather, email me, and we can arrange some private office hours, and we can talk about whatever it is that you're quite concerned about, and we'll arrange that via Blackboard Ultra, which is one thing I forgot to mention here. You see down here where it says Blackboard Ultra? Well, we can arrange a meeting, and that way I can see you, you can see me, and basically I'll tell you, connect up with this, and everything will be fine. We'll have a nice chat. Okay? The main rule for the of success here is focus on this course as it is a foundation for your goal. Well, welcome to the course, welcome to the class, and have a great day.